Welcome. We have a microphone today. It's a real difficult day for me today, so I'm going to just try to get through this live stream. Actually arrested yesterday, right? So, if you saw the topic, let me just go get my paper so I don't know where my chat went, and I'm not concerned right now. Oh, that's right. I don't have chat. I forgot. Sorry. Must be a symptom, right? Abuse amnesia or something. Amy Seukeran, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Life Coach, Canada. VAW, which is violence against women, right? We all know that. Here in Canada, violence against women, VAW. VAW, safety, no contact, trauma, re-traumatization, jail, PTSD, C-PTSD, recovery and healing. Maybe I should just remind you, I'm on ODSP, right? Because of trauma and PTSD and PTSD. That's why I'm on disability, ODSP, lifelong nausea. Just going to remind you, right? Get it all on record. Narcissistic abuse victim. My whole life. I started the business in 2019, right? When I started the business, I was trying to clear my name, all the false police calls. We are now in 2025, and take a good look at what you've done. Complete strangers. Just before we get into the live stream, right, today, for everybody, all the victims in the whole world of narcissistic abuse and what they've gone through in their lifetime because of their narcissists. I spent the night in jail 3 times. 3. And I didn't know who called or why. I was trying to figure that out when I started this business. I need you to understand this. After putting me in the shelter and making me homeless for 6 years, I came back to Malton after being discharged from a homeless shelter. And how many false police calls? Has it hit 10 yet? Complete strangers. You want to know why? What happened to the world? Why people went crazy? Let's go over PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-trauma, right? After a trauma. I explained this, but maybe everybody didn't catch up. So post-traumatic, after a trauma. Stress disorder, right? A stress disorder. What do you think that means? After a trauma, a stress disorder caused by trauma. PTSD. What do you think those effects could be? Well, how do you think I got all this trauma? All those police calls, all those false police calls, how old I was? What happened? Spending the night in jail, not knowing why? Living under threat and intimidation for all those years? Anybody could call any time on me for any reason. And today I am 46 years old. Yesterday, arrested. This is my own apartment. Do you want to explain this, Malton? Well, you have intimate partner violence now, right? Violence against women, gender-based violence. What did I miss? Six years since I opened the business. What did you do for any of them? Femicide, there's another one. That's a good one, right? The intentionally offing women. That's the definition of femicide, right? Intentionally doing it, women. Do you want to get into women hating? What kind of violence is against women? Physical, emotional, mental abuse? Coercive control? You want to talk about that one again? Since you're familiar? Escaping? No contact? Which one? Where you go again? You've all been following along and pretending for 2 years now, right? So how does this happen to me? How did I get arrested yesterday for threatening to cause bodily harm to somebody in the building, much less 4 houses under me, under my window, the apartment I've lived in for 2 years? It seems a little strange, right? I mean, it's not like I spend my day here outside in the parking lot doing things to people. That would make sense, like logical sense, right? If I just sat in the parking lot of my car all day. But this doesn't make sense. I smoke Mary Jane for nausea, to relieve the nausea so I'm not nauseous. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm not nauseous. So I can eat, so I can walk, take the bus if I need to, right? Do what I need to do. Why I don't have a job, right? Uncontrollable lifelong nausea. A result of PTSD. You've had mental health pretending what for 6 years? What were they doing? You have all kinds of people trained to help victims of violence. What were they doing? No contact is another issue, right? I told you, leave me alone. This is my name, my business, my life, right? It's not bad enough when I opened it. I had to try to clear all of it. A psychiatric hospital 3 times, 3 evaluations, on top of spending the night in jail 3 times for what? I would like you to help me and explain this to me. For what? Because of what? Of all the services, since you're the experts, right? I'm not even going to get into how I was treated by the female officer yesterday. That would just be wrong. Recovery and healing. The whole point of my business, right? Why I started and opened the business, to help victims recover and take back their life. You want to tell me again that you have anxiety and what it's from? I would love to know right now. You have trauma? Let's go over what's your trauma from. Be specific. We're all still going to be here tomorrow, right? When we wake up, we're still going to be the same people in Malton. How many of you ever had medication for anxiety? Did you ever have medication for depression? How many of you ever had depression in Malton? I went over how many times. Why do you call the police on people? What's normal to you? We went over emergency services, right? What they're for? Fire, ambulance, and paramedic? You sit here asking me so? Why did you call? You're calling on strangers, and then when something happens to you, you want to know why. You told them I'm threatening you this time. The police have a whole human trafficking unit. I'm a female in my own apartment. They don't understand this? Why is it that I'm the one getting arrested? Can you explain this for all of your 6 years? You have numbers and lines and services to help. What? I don't understand. Okay, let's go over PTSD again. Who diagnoses it since nobody knows what it is, apparently? And, I'm not going to even talk about that one incident yesterday, right? Oh, as a professional, I'm a professional now? Let's talk about if I actually went, if they took me to jail and I had to spend the night there. How many of you in Malton have ever been to jail for the night, spent the night in jail? How did you end up in a homeless shelter? From jail? So what did you do after if you had no contact with the people who called, wherever you were? Now there's a restraining order on my mother's house, right? Remember doing that to me? Yes, I want Malton to sit here and take a good look. Oh, all of it. Why do you have a police station? Why do you call the police? What is your biggest problem? What is normal to you? Why do people call the police normally? Do you want to talk about when I was charged with truancy? That same bus ride? How I have the nausea to get to the courthouse? Why I have it from the courthouse going to court for months and months and months? I would like you to know. All the police, all the courts, all the services. How old was I when I was charged with truancy? Grade 6, Lancaster? Grade 7? All this nausea, right? Years and years and years built up because of. How many times do you think you threatened me with juvenile detention center when I was younger? When I was charged with truancy? How many times do you think I had to go to that courthouse? Go ahead, add in the police now. When you're how old? 12? You sitting here pretending what today? What do you think that does to a kid when you keep threatening them with a juvenile detention center? You wanna talk about narcissistic mothers now? Really? Why? You wanna talk about narcissistic females? Go ahead. Which ones? The police officers or you guys? You were the ones competing with each other, right? For what? Attention? Clout? What was all that about? I told you not to involve me, right? Not to involve my business. Because when something happens, I can't do anything. And now what? What do you think happens when you call the police on people for nothing? Why do you think people get revenge on people? Why do you think crime happens? I want you to get a sense of reality because you don't live in it. Let me hear Malton now. Why do you commit crime, Malton? Why do you lie, cheat, and steal? Fraud people. Let's hear. Why do you steal from people? Well, that was a community center, right? When somebody stole my wallet? So let's explain that one. When I was homeless. Go, let's hear this. Who's in the community center? Who could have done it? I got it back. That's a whole other story, right? Yeah, I want to tell that story another day, a whole separate day. You explain it now, how that happens. Focus on the one why it got taken and how. Oh, am I loud? Am I threatening you over the internet now? 6 years. All the women that were with me in the homeless shelter. Are you laughing now? You remember all the nights when they were watching hockey, all the men? They were all sitting there drinking, drunk, right? They're laughing? Do they have houses, the women? Or did the men get them? All the renters. How many females got a rental? How many of you ever had to stay with a male? How many of you stayed with a female who abused you? How many of you were ever abused by a female in the shelter? How many of you were abused by your roommate in the shelter that was a female? Then what happened when you went to live somewhere? Did they live there? How many of them live there where you are? How many of them just show up where you are? You're talking about jealousy issues and women. Do you understand how many times Amanda Todd offed herself because of comments that people left? Do you have any idea what you leave all over social media? You want to teach empathy? You want to tell people you're human? Humans don't do things like that. If that's what you do to somebody else, what's going to give you trauma? We all went over it. The narcissist creates the jealousy, right? You didn't hear me. You didn't listen. You came telling me about your boyfriends and girlfriends and wives and husbands, how you're jealous and you have jealousy. Why is that my problem? You destroyed my life, my business, my name. False calls to the police. Why is this my problem? Especially in Malton. You want to involve who? I went over. The police are supposed to help victims, right? And what did it say? What do you want me to tell them? You want me to lie? Now let's hear. Who does violence against women these days? What organization? Is it the police directly? Is it victim services? Who's in charge of violence against women? Who do you call if you need help? Is it in Brave? Peel Outreach? Who do you call? The women. This is a criminal charge, criminal court. I did a 6-month diversion program with mental health. I was mental health court for 6 months. Do you have any idea what that's like, watching other people? The things they came up with, the things they got away with in mental health court. This is criminal court, a criminal charge. I committed a crime. I thought it was a joke then online, right? People weren't taking it seriously. They weren't dressing up. They were wearing whatever. This is 6 years later. It's supposed to be my business. That was the court, the judge, right? Why? COVID, you couldn't go to the courthouse, right? People lost respect because they didn't have to go to court, actual courthouse. Is that what happened? And now it's sad to say, right? If they had put me in jail, I can't speak for everybody, right? If it was somebody else, I would want them to go to jail and spend the night in jail. I'm supposed to be grateful that they didn't put me in jail and take me to jail at the same time. I can't. I can't do that. There is no such thing as fair. You call the police for absolutely nothing. How do you want me to be fair? We went over, everybody has their job. The police are there for a job. They have a job to do, right? If everybody knew their job and could do it, we wouldn't have these problems. But somewhere, everything got confused. You're laughing because you're not the one, right, who spent the night in jail or went there. But when I say anything, I'm threatening you and threatening you with harm. No, not somebody. I told you to uninvolve yourselves in my life and my business. I'm not safer. I'm not happier, healthier. This is supposed to be my own house for the rest of my life. I've gone through more here than being homeless for 6 years. More trauma, more violence, more threats, more intimidation in my own apartment than 6 years being homeless, living on the street. Do you know how ridiculous that is? This is Malton. Do you understand how ridiculous that is? You have a police station in the mall, the one mall you have, Westwood Square. Do you understand how ridiculous this is? If you're an actual victim, well, let's go back to trauma. What kind of trauma did Malton have in 6 years? All related to race or religion? Color? Yes, I'm asking, and you'll separate it. Sure, trauma and violence. Was it robbery? Drugs? It really isn't hard, is it? All the violence, all the crime in the world. If you knew what the reason was behind all crime. Well, this is 6 years later, right? It's easier for me to do it. Maybe you didn't know that. Why people commit crime. Have you ever looked into that? Okay, let's go over it again. Is it always money? Is it always revenge? Why do they commit crime? Why do people end up 6 feet under? What motivates somebody to cross that line? How many of you ever ended up in the hospital? Whether it was depression, self-harm, you needed a break. I don't know what I've heard a lot of things over the years, right? The homeless were trying to get in so they could have a bed, so I can't really be fair about that either. We could go over if you voluntarily use substances, why you qualify. People are assaulting and harming you when you're the one who did that voluntarily. Do you want to go over that one? Why you qualify as a victim of anything? If you voluntarily use substances and are attacking normal people on their way to work. Remember the TTC violence, all that subway violence? Or was that homeless? Or was that just how were all those people on the way to work getting violated? So why did it stop? How did it stop? Why did it stop? Why are you safe on the subway to take it now? When you call mental health and the ambulance comes to take you to the hospital, why is that? Because what? What happened to you? If it's a psychiatric hospital, if it's a mental health issue. I'm about halfway in, 30 minutes. I'm going to take a break and come back. Do you remember when I told you I don't believe in suicide? You want to go over why? Why do you think that is? I don't believe in suicide. Since some of you know me for the past couple years, going on, yapping even about that subject. Well, now that you know what you did to my phone and social media, right? I would love to hear what you think the reasons are, why people do that. Since we're talking about depression and medication and legalizing mushrooms, were they trying to do that? Remember all that? Since we're getting into mental health, right? And what they do for you, like the reefer, why people use it for actual medical reasons. We can talk about why people use substances. Isn't it the same reason? Because they can't deal with things? Well, we went over why you started, right? Using alcohol or drugs. What the reason was that you started using them. And you came up with what? Your friends, your family, to cope with what? And how did you become addicted? You didn't realize? You just became addicted? Sure, a side note. What I've done in 6 years while you were. So why are they trying to legalize mushrooms? What does that do? I posted, yeah, psycho. Why are you laughing? It's supposed to be under a doctor's care, right? Hallucinations. If you hallucinate, do you want normal people taking this and going and driving and running around when they're hallucinating? You don't have enough problems? So why? If it's a patient under a doctor's care, they're using it how? In tea? For what? Same depression? That's what the prescription was? Why does it have to be monitored? Why didn't you go over what the effects are again? Okay, let's go over quick. What's the worst thing that happens when you drink alcohol? What happens when you get intoxicated? Now, Mary Jane, mushrooms, other drugs. Sure, go over the list. Okay, now, when are people violent? If you think about those substances when they use them, do any of them make you violent? When people were getting tasered and getting up and walking away, what do you think made them do that? Do you think that's normal? Do you think people built up a tolerance for the taser? Then what do you think explains that? What's supposed to happen when the police taser somebody? That's to do what to them? To stop them? Why do they have to stop them? So why wouldn't it work? Why would they be able to just run from it? So if you built up a tolerance to tasers, what do you think they're going to do to you next to stop you if a taser doesn't work? The gun? Well, if these are police officers, what? Do they still carry a baton? Are they supposed to hit you with it? Yeah, I'm laughing. Watch me laughing. They have body cams now, right? That's reality. Cameras they wear that record everything. I don't know if you know this, but do you remember when they used to write things in a notepad? Now you're talking about recording people's cell phones, technology. You're on my Instagram using my Instagram posts. Those are real police officers. My Instagram. I'm supposed to believe this is the world I'm gonna live in? And what do you think is gonna happen next if this is what you're getting away with? Should we go for the teenagers? And who's gonna influence them? How easy again? Preteens? I'm gonna take a good look around Malton. Remember, I'm recording your children. Don't ever. I had a teacher's aide certificate in what year? I did babysitting, childcare, tutoring in what year? Those are the same people sitting in Malton, right? Telling me, talking about what? They know me how? When I work at Jack and Jill, different set of people, right? When I worked at Dollar Tree, Canadian Tire, Freshco, on here, Ontario, when I stayed in the shelter, different people, right? That wasn't in Malton. When I was in Bramalea, when I was in downtown Brampton, Ellen House, different people, right? I came to Malton for you to do what to my name? Based on what? You've actually showing the world you got away with it. What you got away with, how easy it is. Today, I have to think about when I have to go get fingerprinted. How I'm gonna get there on the bus, right? And make sure I don't. You laugh good. I have to make sure I'm not nauseous. That's the same courthouse, right? In Brampton? I want to talk about trauma and re-traumatization. When did you hear that word? Post-traumatic stress disorder, right? You want to know if you can heal PTSD. What did I tell you? No? It's lifelong? Yeah, people were on their way to healing until you came along. Why shouldn't I tell you now? What do you believe now? You can heal it or no? Go, that was the fireworks, right? When I was walking up to go get reefer? Yeah, what were you doing? How many times did I jump? What do you call that? My whole life. I'm going to end this live stream here. Yeah. Me, Seukeran, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Life Coach.